This is video 2, which will go into more details on how to navigate the XG Pro spreadsheets. This video is intended for the subscribers at XG Pro or those who are interested in subscribing. Football XG provides all our data in easy-to-use Excel formats. XG Pro includes 3 main spreadsheet files. First file is XG Pro Upcoming Games that contain next 8 days worth of game. The second file contains all the prior months results plus all predictions for the rest of the season. Third file contains all the historical data. So the main file goes back to 2021. There are additional data files that contains data all the way back to 2018. XG Pro also includes the in-play odds calculator, which is used to predict in-play odds and is covered in separate video. XG Pro also includes Excel-based XG league tables. The rest of this video is going to focus on the XG Pro All spreadsheet, which is predominantly used for system building or testing distance. When you first open the main XG All Pro spreadsheet, this is what you'll be presented with. While they may look overwhelming to start with, once you get a hang of it, these actually fairly straightforward. So the bottom section here is what everyone should be fairly familiar with if you use any of our other products, and ultimately just provides all the game details and all the stats that are provided and all the gains here, so from 2021 down to 2024. But obviously new games are added every month, and also there's game data going all the way back to 2018. They can be added into the spreadsheets as needed. The next thing I just want to highlight is this top section here. Again, once you get a hang of it, it is fairly straightforward. The first thing to highlight is this section here in cell C1. So all this is showing is what odds we're going to use for the profit calculations. And the choice is either the opening odds, the closing odds at kickoff time, or the Tuesday-Friday odds, which is usually on a day or two just before kickoff time. And here we can choose which odds we want to use for creating our system or testing some hypotheses. And here there's a full range of odds, starting from the standard odds, overs, unders, post-ups to score, then through to all the Asian handicap odds. The value calculation is currently based off opening odds, but if you're creating a system based on closing odds, you may want to change all the value calculations to based off closing odds. And that can easily be done here by changing the odds and clicking value change those. And similar down here, this is where you can choose to have the value calculations based as a percentage value and calculate it as odds, or you can show it as the expected value as well. And this can be changed with a clicking button here. So the final thing to talk about is just this section here, and this is just showing the profits and the CLV based on all the filters that you apply. Obviously at the moment we've applied 0 filters, which is why it's showing the large negative ROI. Now let's start by creating a simple home odds system. We could start by changing one of the individual columns here, or we could go straight to this column and then look for the accounts of models that are above 10% value. So for here, if we just put this to a arbitrary 4, so here, for example, is showing 6 of the models are showing a bit 10% value, and Nectro is 5 of the models are above 10% value. And then if we click the updates button, and then all the summary stats will update. Okay, from here is created a small ROI, some profits in some years and some losses in some other years. So from here, we can then delve into things in a bit more detail. So in this section at the top, which we call the summary report, it shows the profitability on a column by column split into various ranges, which can be changed in the greater or less than section. So for example, we go straight to the odds section here. We can see that for the home odds, the system is profitable between 1 and 1.9, but is loss-making between 1.9 and 2.5, and grading in 2.5 with a minus 1% and a minus 2% ROI. So what we can do, we can change these greater than or less than filters a bit further to see if we can tweak things a bit further. So potentially we can go for here from 1 to 1.7, here 1.7 to 1.9, and maybe here just a short 1.9 to 2. And then again, we can be on update to see how that impact fits. So overall, this is showing now that, between all these ranges all the way at the 2, it's a fairly profitable system. So if we now apply that odds range to this filter here, that will then feed into the overall profitability, and then will feed into all the other columns as well. And then gauge the plate as a bit more of a basis, reasonable ROI, and showing reasonable profitability across the last 4 years. So from here, what we can then do is we can then delve things a bit more deeply by going across and looking at any of the individual columns, or we could just run a full report by clicking on this button here. Okay, so after running the main reports, it will bring you to a new tab, which will show you the output here. And as you can see here, the profits and the ROI is the same as what's included in the main screen here. This just provides some more further analysis. So to quickly explain this section, the graph on the right shows profitability split by opening, closing, and Tuesday, Friday odds. The Tuesday, Friday odds are the odds which are sourced from the data that is updated on Tuesdays and Fridays. This graph also shows the CLV, which is comparing Tuesday, Friday odds to closing lots. As mentioned before, obtaining CLV should be a key focus for all traders. The other tables provide breakdowns by league and season. Then there's also profitability based on performance against similar ranked teams, so either top, middle, or bottom, or top half, bottom half. These are quite key areas for creating systems. Similar section at the bottom shows the XG ratios and the master numbers and dominance. The master number and dominance are based on XG league table rankings, though the details on these will be provided in later videos. Finally, the key area to look into is odds, and as mentioned previously, it's strongly recommended to create separate systems focusing on different odds ranges, largely affecting on either shorter odds ranges or longer odds range. For the example here, we can see our odds range has been focusing on a shorter odds range, and you can see here that the odds are profitable between the odds of 1.43 all the way up to 2, but is showing a small ROI loss in the less than 1.429 odds range. And these odds ranges can be tweaked as needed, so potentially we could exclude very short price odds if required. This section here shows the profitability and CLV by the XBlend model and the XSTB model. And there's also a section here that looks at the max drawdown for the individual and the years included. And then there's an overall summary section here at the top, which we can explain in later videos. They're the key things that I wanted to show. Then if you are happy with the system, you simply can click the Save System button here. A separate tab will then be created from the system, as well as adding it to the Save Systems. So if you want to load your system back into the main summary sheets, into multiple different systems, you can just select it from here, and then tilt below Filters, and it'll load the system back into this section here. Finally, the next feature I'm going to show is something I suspect everyone will be quite happy with. So after a while, you'll build up a list of systems, and having to go through the weekly sheet, applying all the filters from all the systems to come up with your games can be very slow and tiring process. Once you have all your systems saved, you can then save this workbook as your master workbook. You can then clear all the historical games from the main tab, as shown here, and this will significantly reduce the file size down. Now, every time the weekly sheets are updated, you can simply get the data from the weekly sheets, do a simple copy and paste, and then the data is here, along with all your saved systems. So once you've pasted your games in, you simply click the Create Systems button, and then it will go through the latest games, apply all your filters for all your different systems, and that will highlight the gains that you should be considering for your trades this week. So based on the current week's spreadsheet, there are 4 gains that meets the criteria to look into. One additional thing I'd like to mention is, as measured in the start, the focus on this system is purely around the profitability to host odds. But what you can do, if you scroll over to the sections on the profits to the various different odds, for example here this is the profit to opening odds, you can see how the system actually performs to all the different odds things. As expected, as this is a home odds system, it's going to be very unprofitable to away odds. But as you can see here, and it's like it has some potential for looking into and considering as a home first half system. And also the Heavy Mage handicap, it also looks profitable there as well. So that's just something to consider, where you can potentially look and see, is there other markets where this system potentially could have a chance of being profitable and worth exploring further. So this is the main summary of the pro sheet that we are covering today. Further videos will be following, which will dive deeper into the various stats and features. And there is also a glossary document which provides a high-level overview of each column, along with which data fields are included in each system. As always, if you'd like to see more of these types of videos, please click on the subscribe button. Also, if you want us to look into a certain area or have specific questions, you can contact us on X or via the contact form on the website.